welcome to The Foundry by Ford College. I'm your host, and today we're doing an explainer on legal and institutional timestamping. In our last lesson, we talked about grandfather clocks, wax seals, and early physical audit trails. But today, today we are leaving the analog world behind. We're trading the dripping wax for digital blueprints and looking at exactly how we turn complex technical math into formal trust systems that won't get you laughed out of a courtroom.
So let's dive in with a high-stakes scenario. Picture this. You're standing in a courtroom. You have a digital file. Let's say it's a billion-dollar patent application, and you need to prove without a shadow of a doubt that this exact file existed before today. How do you do it? I mean, you can't just show the judge a computer file's last modified date. A tech-savvy golden retriever could fake that in about 5 seconds. So how do we actually translate a basic cryptographic hash into airtight, legally admissible evidence? Here is our engineering blueprint for today. We'll start by going from technical to legal. Then we'll break down the timestamp token, look at timestamp authorities, figure out verifying the evidence, trace the legal chain of custody, and finally wrap up with choosing the right timestamp. Let's get right to it.
All right, Section 1, from technical to legal. We've got these core building blocks of trust: a cryptographic hash, a trustworthy clock source, and an immutable audit trail. You already know these. They're the nuts and bolts of our trust machine, and they are brilliant at proving order. But, well, a pile of shiny gears doesn't just automatically turn into a machine that a legal system is going to trust.
And that brings us to the real issue here. Cryptographic order is absolutely not the same thing as legal authenticity. Computers, they love technical proofs. The math checks out, and the computer is perfectly happy. But a human judge, they don't care about your beautiful Python code. They want institutional endorsement. They need recognized frameworks, sworn affidavits, and real accountability. They want absolute legal certainty.
So how do we bridge that gap? That brings us to Section 2, the timestamp token.
What exactly is a TST? Well, a timestamp token is a secure digital payload that mathematically binds a file's hash to a precise time. And, here's the kicker, it is signed by an authority. If we're building a legal trust machine, this token right here is the engine block. It's the core component where cold hard cryptography literally meets the calendar.
The manufacturing process for this is actually a remarkably clean 3-step assembly line. Step 1, you hash the document. That gives you the message imprint, the unique digital fingerprint of your file. Step 2, you add UTC time, always universal time, because nobody wants to argue about time zones or daylight saving changes in front of a jury. And Step 3, you apply the TSA signature. The authority mathematically signs the whole package, locking the fingerprint and the precise time together forever.
Now, who is doing this signing? Let's move to Section 3, Timestamp Authorities.
A timestamp authority, or TSA, is a recognized, heavily audited entity that officially binds that precise time to your digital fingerprint. Think of a TSA as basically a digital notary public, but one that operates a pristine, universally trusted atomic clock. When they sign your token, you aren't just taking some guy's word for it. You are relying on a deeply audited, highly regulated piece of infrastructure.
Of course, there are some pretty intimidating standards backing all this up, but let's demystify them. First, RFC 3161. That's just the request and issue protocol. It handles cross-vendor validation, meaning a token made by one company can easily be verified by another. Easy. Then we have X.509 certificates. Think of this as the TSA's digital driver's license. It binds their keys to their actual identity. And yes, courts will absolutely check to see if those tags are expired. Finally, the notarial affidavit. That's the human attestation, the critical bridge translating all this digital math into actual jurisdictional admissibility.
Okay, we've built the machine. Now, Section 4, verifying the evidence.
This is the quality assurance phase. How do we test it? Well, there are 3 mechanical checks. Number 1, does the digest match the imprint? Basically, does the fingerprint of the file you brought to court exactly match the fingerprint locked inside the token? Number 2, is the TSA signature actually valid, or is it just a cheap forgery? And number 3, is the timestamp plausible? Because, obviously, we need to ensure nobody messed with the clock or tried to backdate the tokens so they could claim they invented the internet in 1985. These are the exact checks auditors and courts use to ensure a token is pristine.
All right, moving on to Section 5, the legal chain of custody. This is where we wrap our technical engine in a protective legal chassis. Let's follow a piece of evidence. Say that fiercely contested patent application we talked about earlier. First, creation. The law firm drafts the patent and hashes it. Next, binding.
They send that hash to a TSA and request a timestamp token to lock in the exact UTC time. And finally, attestation. They don't just, toss that token on a flash drive and throw it in a desk drawer. No way. They notarize an affidavit explaining exactly how the file was stored, who had access, the whole shebang. This human narrative surrounds and protects the digital math.
And what makes that human narrative believable? Meticulous, borderline obsessive record keeping. We're talking required audit logs. You need request receipts, token serial numbers, CA certificate chains, and time source calibration records. You really need all of it. And by the way, if you're finding this intersection of digital evidence and procedural record keeping fascinating, and I know you are, we actually do deep dives into digital hygiene in other learning programs at Forge College. It's absolutely crucial stuff for anyone working in tech or law.
Almost done. Section 6. Choosing the right timestamp. When you're out there designing your systems, you've really got to weigh two different approaches. On one side, you have legal scrutiny. If you are going to court, you absolutely need the heavy machinery, a timestamp authority plus a notarized affidavit. But on the other side, you have archival efficiency. If you just need to keep your own internal databases organized, a lightweight cryptographic hash with local logs is perfectly fine. You don't need to call a highly regulated digital notary every single time you hit save on a rough draft, right?
So, the crucial question you really have to ask yourself is this: does your evidence need to survive a hostile courtroom or just your own hard drive? It all comes down to the weight of trust your system needs to support. And that wraps up our blueprint for legal and institutional timestamping. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. If you want to master more Web3 fundamentals and really dig into these concepts, head over to forge.college. Keep exploring, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.